ليلوم الخوف والكوابيس والخيانة، ليلوم الخوف والكوابيس والخيانة. نحنا قدامنا الصباح، نحنا قدامنا الصباح، نحنا قدامنا الصباح، نحنا قدامنا الصباح.
Good evening, and thank you for attending tonight's Poetry for Sudan event organized and hosted by the Gidamna Sabah Cultural Forum. My name is Warif Ismail, and I'll be your MC this evening. I'd like to take a moment to extend a warm welcome to all those who are able to join us from around the world. Uh, there is a spirit or a sense that's almost indescribable and uniquely special when communities are able to come together, to convene, to congregate for discussion, enjoyment, or celebration. For many of us who are currently living in diaspora, it is a treasured experience to be able to connect. So please take your time to enjoy today's event, communicate, converse with one another in the chat, and share your thoughts and ideas if you feel comfortable doing so. I'd like to start today's event with an acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians and owners of the land from which I'm broadcasting from today, the Whadjuk Noongar people. It is a privilege to stand on Whadjuk Noongar country. The Gidamna Sabah Cultural Forum would like to extend this acknowledgement and pay respects to First Nation storytellers. And this event is primarily hosted in unceded Whadjuk Noongar Budja. We acknowledge the ongoing resistance and unyielding history of First Nations people and pay our respects to elders past and present. Furthermore, we would like to acknowledge that the same systems that provide settler refugees with relative safety are in turn the same systems that continue to repress and dispossess First Nations people. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Today's event will be primarily centered around poetry for Sudan. The intent of today's event is to provide an avenue for cultural connection and to celebrate the remarkable works of Sudanese artists and community leaders. We will be exploring themes of resilience, justice, liberation, and humanity throughout the lens of poetry. We would like to invite you to examine just a general question. What does the concept of a shared humanity mean to you, and how is it expressed? Hopefully, through today's poems, we will see how these amazing artists have expressed their own humanity and their own hope for humanity. The poetry today will be recited by some artists around Australia as well as internationally. The poetry has been created by Afif Ismail and has been written, as mentioned, by some renowned Sudanese poets. These poets have woven hope within their words, and in their lifetime of work in the arts, their work has always sat dearly with Sudanese people. So as we explore today's poetry, please feel free to share your thoughts on how these poems have sat with you and what they mean to you as well. The chat will be open for comments. Tonight, we'll be joined by a few artists who'll be reading one or two poems for Sudan, followed by another piece from their own catalogue or a piece that is meaningful to them. Tonight's readers include Dr. Vivienne Glance, Dr. Viviane Juguero, Mr. Mararo Wangai, and Dr. Nandi Chinna, who will be joining us later. Before we kick off the poetry segment, I would like to take a moment to talk about Sudan. Sudan is currently facing one of the world's largest humanitarian catastrophes and crises. This catastrophic war is complex. The nation is experiencing some genuine and deep hardship. It has for a very long time. Its history is complex and deeply rooted in geopolitical interests, which continue to be benefited off the ongoing destabilization of the country and a genocide of the people. The anti-revolutionary war in Sudan is impactful for so many in attendance tonight. As such, I'm going to take my time to talk about it, and I'll be talking about it in a manner which provides general context and advocacy for humanitarian action. I will start by talking about the entities involved in the ongoing anti-revolutionary war in Sudan, after which I'll provide some information about the scale of the devastation that the country is currently experiencing, that devastation experienced by those still located within the nation, as well as those living in diaspora. I will conclude with some considerations and personal thoughts, hopefully as we're all connected to our individual humanity, but as well, and our shared humanity, we'll be able to continue to reflect on some of the points. And as mentioned earlier, I encourage you to share your thoughts and perspectives in the chat. I'll begin the context portion by saying this. There is no distinction between the Rapid Support Forces, RSF, also known as the Janjaweed, and the Sudanese Armed Forces, SAF. Both are militarized entities cut from the same cloth. Both have vested interest in the exploitation of Sudan's abundant resources and destruction of the nation in the name of their narrow and greedy interests. Both entities are trained, funded, and supported by global powers external to Sudan, with the same goal of ongoing exploitation and genocidal conquest. Consider the SAF and the RSF as the local players in a transcontinental, international power that moves them like pawns on a chessboard. The objective of these pawns is simple. They are tasked with the ongoing manufacture of warfare within Sudan. And for that goal, it's the ongoing destruction of civilization and dehumanization of a people. Through the destruction of Sudan, they're able to appease the interest of their international supporters and funders. These supporters and funders further profit and benefit from the suffering and ongoing genocide of the Sudanese people. Western nations and nations within the regions, which ultimately benefit from the perpetuation of imperialistic ideals or continue to benefit from the colonial occupation of Africa and the ongoing dehumanization and subjugation of the African body, in a way, also benefit from the ongoing war in Sudan. Wealth and resources are extracted out of Sudan and directly or indirectly by these global powers. This is for their own enrichment and greed, and devastation is left behind for those that call Sudan their beloved home. Specifically around the political entities at play, the Sudanese people refer to the Muslim Brotherhood Party and the Islamic movement in general as the Kazan. The Kazan are part of the Sudanese armed forces and the Rapid Response Forces, Janjaweed. As a whole, the Kazan is an encompassing word which can hopefully help you navigate the complexities of what is occurring in Sudan. I would like you to understand that these military factions are all linked to the Sudanese government and the Muslim Brotherhood Party. Their genocidal goals and methodologies are all the same. Essentially, the people in Sudan are currently being held hostage by two armed factions of the same entity, all influenced, armed, and carrying out atrocities funded by external international powers. So please note that both the RSF and the SAF leaders are also wanted by the International Criminal Court, ICC, for war crimes against the people of their own nation. It's a deeply complex situation, so I would like to encourage those in attendance who aren't too familiar with it to do their own research in looking into the history of Sudan and the complex development of Sudan. And in doing so, hopefully you'll be able to uplift the voices who are of those people that are currently being oppressed or actively oppressed. This information is hard to talk about, so if this information weighs heavy on your heart, your conscience, your soul, I encourage you to sit with me in a moment of reflection about our shared humanity. Let's please take a second to breathe, process with me, as these matters can be incredibly distressing to talk about. The United Nations have documented horrific brutality, military occupation, including ethnic cleansing, acts of genocide, war crimes, use of chemical weapons, as well as rape and sexual violence as a weapon of war. Currently, within Sudan, there is no humanitarian corridor. Aid cannot reach the people in need, and famine with epigenetic consequences is currently present within the country. Please note that the overall international aid response has diminished. General coverage of Sudan has diminished from the global landscape, while the presence of foreign arms and weaponry has increased. The devastation has continued to increase. Altogether, there are more than 12 to 13 million people that have been uprooted from their homes. Current figures estimate that 9 million people are internally displaced within the nation, while roughly around 4 million people are living in diaspora as refugees. All major infrastructure within the nation has failed. Over 80% of hospitals have either shut down or have been destroyed. Most of the country experiences deliberate communication blackouts. Please understand that access to communication is a human right. In reality, let's call it for what it is. It's an active genocide and an anti-revolutionary war. This war and genocide continues to impact those located within the country and many Sudanese people living in diaspora. We're limited to watching the atrocities from afar, grieving our loved ones, and the destruction of our homeland. Ultimately, we're continuously grieving for the lives lost in the African people's plight for human rights, dignity, liberation, and the right to self-determination. Once again, I'll note and ask you to reflect upon the fact that there is no distinction between the military dictatorship of the Sudanese government and its various militia arms that have been committing these atrocities. I will ask you to reflect upon the fact that there is no sovereignty to the people, and in extension, there is no basic human rights. Lastly, I want you to tap into your humanity and reflect that there is deafening international silence and active misrepresentation of this anti-revolutionary war and active genocide. I say this as it's our shared responsibility to uphold the principles of human rights, to seek justice and restorative justice in the face of the ICC, in the name of those who have been victimized by this genocide, who have been deeply impacted by this genocide. These are innocent human lives lost, just souls extinguished simply for existing. Lastly, I wanted to talk about solidarity. So for those in touch with their humanity, you can show solidarity with a grieving nation by advocating for action from your democratically elected representatives, not just once, but continuously. You can show solidarity by learning about Sudan. It's beautiful people, it's rich history and rich culture. You can show solidarity by advocating for justice and weaving that within the ways you examine the world. I really urge you to consider this. If you weave a lens of humanity in the way that you examine this world, I think you'll be able to see the breadth in which some nations and some people may negotiate with their conscience. I encourage you not to negotiate with your conscience. Sit in the uncomfortable. It is important to give reverence to the people, to give reverence to a grieving nation. Lastly, and more importantly, a message for all my fellow Sudanese people, those living in the nation and those living in diaspora. Most importantly, continue to thrive and continue to survive. Both very, very important. Our shared survival is in itself an act of revolutionary resistance. Our ability to create, to imagine, to share, to dream, to work, and to move forward towards a better tomorrow is an active act of resistance in defiance of the atrocities that continue to plague this world. I deeply, deeply urge you to continue to survive and continue to thrive. From here, I would like to proceed with the poetry segment for this evening. So tonight's poetry segment will include readings from some amazing artists and poets in their own rights. Our readers will be reading poems which hold great significance for the people of Sudan and the nation as a whole, as well as some pieces of their own choosing. We will be exploring themes of liberation, justice, shared humanity, and the Sudanese identity. Many of these poems have been interpolated into songs that you may hear throughout today's program. This further highlights the importance of these pieces in the landscape of Sudan's sophisticated and multifaceted culture. Our first speaker for this evening is Dr. Vivienne Glance. I'll just introduce Vivienne by providing a little bit of a biography and background about Vivienne. So Vivienne's poetry publications are The Softness of Water, published by Sunline Press in 2009, A Simple Rain, published by Liturgical Press in 2012. Other poems by Vivienne feature in journals and anthologies, including Westerly, Mascara Review, and Blue Dog. Viv is an actor and playwright, and her plays have been produced and developed in Australia, the United Kingdoms, the United States, Canada, and Europe. Many of Viv's plays are published online with Australian Plays, and her play Bruised will be published by PlayLab this year, 2026. Vivienne holds a PhD in creative writing from the University of Western Australia, UWA, and a Bachelor of Science honours from Imperial College in London. At her time in UWA, she received the Matilda Award for Cultural Excellence in 2011. Viv has also collaborated with Afif Ismail for over 20 years, co-trans-creating his poetry, plays, and short stories from Sudanese Arabic and traditional Arabic to English. Welcome, Viv.
Thank you, Warif. Thank you so much for the introduction. And thank you so much for your advocacy statement just then. That was incredibly moving and very inspiring too. And I'd just like to mention one person has been convicted by the ICC, Muhammad Ali Abdul Rahman, and we want to see many, many more. So yes, we can keep lobbying for justice and for peace for Sudan. Now, the first poem I would like to read, is Good Morning, Good Evening by Majub Sharif, translated by Asha Musa. There are Arabic words within this, and please do forgive me if my pronunciation isn't the best, but I will do my absolute utmost to make it comprehensible. So, good morning, good evening. Good morning, good evening, lady of the house, lady of the office open for crowds. Your pay is won with hard work, a nursing hour worth more than a month break, the latest to bed, the earliest to wake. Even before the sun its bed forsake, or the bird flies off the nest, you wait for the little milk to boil. You brew the tea. Oh God, how many sandwiches you make. For the examinee and the one in panic to catch the line, and you worry about your own time when you have a lot on your plate. We dress and leave you between pan and tap. You prepared scarf and shirt. You rehearse the poem and the surah. Tire that makes the picture to your eyes the best of pictures. Games of hijla and of marbles. You dry and soak, but never complain, nor your kindness ever drain. Is there pay for this pain? A nurse, sister, and doctor. A doctor's coat, your white thwoob. A beam of light roaming wards, a glimpse of hope, a teacher when you go to school, a wall of kindness bracing all. Tomorrow inspection day, worker lady, the broom, bouquet of flowers in your hand, it seems. Daughter of hardship, busy as a bee by day and night, scorched by heat, in the farm with seeds and birds. Click your mouse, sweetie, a morning pause by computer screen steals the light from your eye. Daughter of the assiduous, the overworked, and the bachelors. Kisra maker, tea brewer, coal blower. I love the handy garariba like a flying butterfly between your fingers. The coal blower, the sweat droplets. Like a turtle dove over the wall, flirting the morning infusion. Asha and Mary, a great school of life. No need for notebooks or for board or a positive report for medals to promote. Live long and free, not oppressed like a prey. Your kid's pride untouched or hurt. Protected pearl, oh Mastura, in your secret covert. Peace be on you, dear at work and home. Your sheets, the Nile resort, your favoured valley is your court, for scented cups of mint tea with crackers. I love the rituals, when coffee beans are ground, the rhythmic tock, 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 and a spark to quicken the valse. Peace be on women on earth, women around the globe, all women in the whole universe. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that reading, Vivian. It was beautiful. So that was Good Evening, Good Morning, Good Evening by Mahjoub Sharif, translated by Asha Musa. I'm just going to provide a little bit of context about Ustaz Mahjoub Sharif, the people's poet. Mahjoub Sharif was a poet, teacher, activist who became known in Sudan and other Arabic-speaking countries for his colloquial poetry and his public engagement, both his commitment to furthering his art as well as democracy, freedom, and national identity. He's a true Sudanese legend, a legend as we would say here in Australia. Someone who devoted not only to his poetry, but his entire life towards democracy and freedom for his people. His poetry was put to music by eminent Sudanese musicians such as Muhammad Wardi, but throughout his time, his activism led to repeated political imprisonment under different Sudanese governments. His poetry sits in a special place in the hearts of many Sudanese people, and it is one of those pieces of writing in any poem you will read of his that weaves threads of hope throughout it, that weaves a dream of a free and liberated Sudan, whilst also celebrating some very unique bits of Sudanese culture. You would have read them throughout this poem, very unique characteristics that you would experience if you grew up in a Sudanese household. This poem in itself pays a lot of respect to Sudanese women. And in that same thought, I wanted to take a moment to provide some condolence to Musa Al-Nil. I would like to take a moment to pay respects and condolence to the family, colleagues, and comrades of Musa Al-Nil. I would like to extend these condolences to all Sudanese people grieving. Musa Al-Nil passed away on the 15th of April, 2026, on the same date that marked the 3rd anniversary of the current anti-revolutionary war in Sudan. Musa Al-Nil was a prominent Sudanese intellectual voice known for her powerful writing that blends political analysis with human-centered storytelling. Her work engages deeply with themes of democratic transition, social justice, and the role of women in shaping Sudan's future. Musin and her work played an instrumental role in the December Revolution. She provided a consistent voice of advocacy and empowerment for Sudanese women all over the world. So sincerely to the family of Musin al-Nil, her colleagues, her comrades, and all Sudanese people in mourning, the Gidam Sabah Collective would like to extend our deepest condolences. Al-Baraka fikum. Thank you for that, Viv. It's a quick transition, but I wanted to take a moment to pay condolences to a very important cultural figure and a very important person in the Sudanese landscape. As we transition back to talking about the poem, Viv, can you let me know how you felt reading the poem? What were some of your initial takeaways and interpretations as you were engaging with the poem?
Thank you, Warif. Well, I was fortunate enough to read the English translations of Unyielding Verse that was recently published 10 years after Mahjoub Sharif's death here. So I was able to get more familiar with his poetry through that publication, which I think is a wonderful, wonderful gift. And it's similar themes coming through from reading the poems in Unyielding Verse, which have many of his most popular poems in there, such as excuse me, I've got something wrong with my throat today.
That's okay.
Crazy in Love with You, which is one which is really dear, and obviously his Homesick Sparrow is the most well known, I should imagine. And I find similar themes in this poem, which it goes to the moment, it goes to the minutiae of living, of life, and takes great joy and reverence and pleasure in seeing these small moments. And I think if I imagine that Mahjoub Sharif is someone who would just sit and watch very closely what is going on around him and use that as his inspiration and pick up on these little items. You prepared scarf and shirt, little things like that it brings in a whole narrative of what this woman that he's referring to has done, because that would have taken a whole series of things to wash, to dry, to iron, to fold, to everything. You wait for the little milk to boil. So it's just that moment, pleasurable little moments that come through. And he builds on this through the repetition of these kind of moments, going through the various life. And then you come to the point where actually you realize that this is not a single person, it's a women in general, it's many women and many aspects of their lives that are coming through. And as with Sharif, often there comes that moment where his resistance, his desire for the people to succeed, his constant love and respect and advocacy for his people comes through at the end, where he talks about peace be on women on earth, peace around the globe, all women in the whole universe. But he's talking in that sense of the tiniest part. He brings it into this: we will not be oppressed. We will live long and free, not oppressed like prey, is that line there. And I think that really he always has this ends with this inspiring moment to lift people's spirits, which I think came through in this poem.
Thank you so much, Vivian. I'm trying to think of something to add to that, but that was such a deep and well thought out interpretation, Viv, and I think you've nailed it right on the head. It is there is beauty in the monotonous, in the minutiae of everyday living, and as we sit back and watch, we get great appreciation. A little anecdote away from the poem, but I think a lot about the things I see my parents or my my mom in specifically do around the house or do in her own rituals, personal rituals. And you realize the grace and beauty that people walk within this world and the cultural connection to that. You are 100% right in that this poem pays reverence to all Sudanese women and deeply ties the liberation of the Sudanese person to the liberation of the Sudanese woman as well. It's a beautiful, beautiful reading, Vivian, and thank you for your reading of that poem. I'll give you a minute to breathe and have a little bit of water, and we'll transition to two of your poems, Vivian. So we'll start off with Peace, when you're ready.
Thank you so much. No, I'm quite ready, thanks. I'll read both poems right through, and then afterwards we can have maybe a little chat about the context. The first poem is called just Peace. Peace. You are a crumbling rock. You are a dream in patchwork. You are a giant balanced on a splinter. You are a basket of guilt. You are an outward breath. You are dust on the shelf of memory. You are the hands of a baby. You are a glance at meaning. You are the crease in the curtain of denial. You are the green of valleys. You are a splash on a canvas. You are water on desert seeds. You are the blossoming of niggling questions. Who laid bare the kernel? Who stencils humanity? Who will embrace the flame? You are a mournful song. You are the hopeful prayer. And the second poem is Language Has Power. We may not have succeeded according to the rules of this game, but we have succeeded according to the rules of love, existence, community, empathy, rules that stretch deep into our souls, our earth, this aquifer of emotions. Language has power. What we say shapes the world. Our verbs construct reality. Our nouns encircle us with loving arms. Adjectives glint like rain on leaves. To speak is an act of radical hope. To write is to confront injustice. To sing exposes violence as the problem. As piece by piece, word by word, we lay foundations in harmony, walk towards our future dreams. And we do this with our full, daily, refreshed commitment to peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much for both of those poems, Vivian. Deeply moving and incredibly, incredibly beautiful. I had a few questions just to understand your poetry a little bit more and get your perspective. Can you let me know a little bit more about the context from which you wrote the poem Peace? What was the world like at that time, and where were you? Where were you in a frame of mind?
Right. This poem, I will say, was written over 20 years ago. And I have read it again and again and again, and it still has a resonance, which to me is deeply distressing. It's a call for the complexity of peace. What is peace? What does it mean? The fact that this was written, I think, around the Iraq War, the 2003 invasion of Iraq by Western forces. And it was calling that it came from that frustration, from that desire for there to be peace, that we did not need this, it was an unnecessary. And similar to the situation in Sudan, it was about colonialism, it was about greed, it was about pillaging a country. The thing about it is that it is actually hard to decide or to really define what peace is, because it can mean so many different things. And it can be fragile, like a crumbling rock. It can be a dream. It can be the just looking out on a vista can bring peace to the soul. It can be refreshing. It can be so many different things, but it's also something that can be given, can be bargained with, can be taken away, can be trodden on. So it's trying to kind of look at the complexities of what it is rather than a singular unified idea of what peace actually means.
Mm.
But I
That's
hope that
beautiful,
the
Vivian.
hopeful prayer at the end is what we all want, really.
Mm. And very similar to Mahjoub Sharif's work, it ends in an affirmation or a call to action or a statement about peace, about the point stressed. It's a beautiful poem, Vivian, and in reading it earlier this week, it really made me examine my own humanity. The line, "You are the hands of a baby," it draws a lot from the idea that, for me at least, the next generation, peace is ever going, ever growing, ever evolving, and it is every generation's responsibility in a way to view those delicate moments as moments of peace. This is what we want. We want the world to be a safe place for all that inhabit it, you know. When it comes to your second poem, Language Has Power, I mentioned earlier your work with Afif Ismail in co-trans creation of his poetry works, plays, and short stories. Can you describe to me, or can you let me know how your relationship with language has changed over the years, knowing that it's a lifetime of work and hard to summarize in a short moment. But how has your relationship with language changed over the years, especially in engaging with Sudanese work and Sudanese poetry?
Oh, it has been an absolute blessing, an absolute privilege to have worked with Afif over the past 2 decades or more, because the introduction to not only the whole history and culture and current situation in Sudan, but also the way that poetry within the culture of the Arabic speaking world is so prominent, so vital, so relevant, still there,
Mm,
that I feel that sometimes one looks at the object, you look at the poem as the final object, but actually no, the poem is alive. The poem is carried within people who hear it or read it. And the poem, I think the first time Afif told me that poets in Sudan can fill football stadiums with people to listen to them, I was just, wow,
mm,
the
mm,
kind of connection that can come through that, the powerful connection that these words can bring within a community is there. So I think that the grace also, I must acknowledge that Afif has an incredible strength, but an incredible grace within him. And his patience with me, I'm sure, when I'm trying to struggle to understand what's going on, was really generous as well. And it's been an absolute joy to be collaborating with him all this time. And to
mm. Thank you for that.
get to know you, your brother Afif, your Warif Shadi, Rafif, Nazik, and all your friends as well has been a real pleasure.
Thank you for that, Vivian. That's very, very kind. Language does have power. Language moves countries, language moves people, language moves soul. And it's been a pleasure getting to know you and to see you work alongside Afif and to watch your work from afar and now up close as well. So I completely agree with you. Language is it's not just a way of us interacting with this world, but it is a way of us reflecting the world back in many ways. You have the Stars Mahjoub Sharif talking about opening your heart to the street, opening your heart to the world, building schools where prisons were previously. These are statements that that have in them interwoven dreams that should be realities, dreams that people are now working to make a reality. And language in that way is incredibly, incredibly powerful, especially for those that are preferably not heard by the world. So thank you so much for your wonderful,
in
wonderful
particular,
poems.
if I could just say, in particular, poetry. Because poetry to me is about what's not said as much as what is said. I think that poetry leaves spaces for people to fall into it, to partake in it. It builds imagery, it leaves moments of pause and reflection, which I think that's perhaps one of the most wonderful things that I did learn from working with Afif, is that a very few words can say so much.
And can trigger you to examine your humanity through a different lens. And that's the beautiful thing about this moving art form. Speaking of the power of language, I wanted just to commemorate one of our attendees in the chat at the moment, Dr. Ashan Mosa, who translated this work and pieces of Mahjoub Sharif's work. Thank you so much for your attendance and your beautiful translations, and for continuously using your skills and control of language to further the Sudanese people's plight for freedom, liberation, justice, and a hope for a better future. Thank you so much. And thank you, Vivienne, for your wonderful readings. It's been a pleasure to have you here tonight. After Vivienne's lovely reading here, we will be transitioning to our next reader. We've got our next speaker, Mararo Wangai. Mararo is a Kenyan-born independent artist, writer, and actor. And a media graduate with a passionate interest in diverse forms of storytelling. Mararo, he wrote and performed Black Brass, which premiered at Perth Arts Festival in 2021 and toured with Bellevue Theatre in 2020. Please correct any of my pronunciations across this, Mararo. He has developed work with some of Australia's esteemed theatre companies, such as the Melbourne Theatre Company, Black Swan Theatre Company Co., Bellevue Theatre Company Co., Yarra Yakin Theatre Company Co., Australian Theatre for Young People, and West Australian Youth Theatre Co. His work was shortlisted for the prestigious Patrick White Award in 2017 and longlisted for both the 2025 Griffin Award and the Queensland Premier's Drama Award. He is currently developing a series called Sharpen Knives, supported by Arena Media and 10 Days Production, as well as adapting Black Brass for the screen. Mararo, thank you for making the time to join us tonight. It's a pleasure to have you. How are you doing tonight?
Very well. It's such an honor and such a pleasure to hear Viv read her incredible poems as well. It's honestly, anytime I get a chance to be part of anything that your incredible father, Fifi Ismail, is doing, it's an honor and a privilege, because I wouldn't be where I am without the opportunity that you offered to me. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mararo. Mararo, I've been lucky enough to see you on the stage and even in an intimate group environment reading, and I'm really excited to hear some of your readings of the poems that we've chosen today and some of your own choosing as well. We'll kick off with the first poem, Scrolling and Digging.
Perfect. Scrolling and Digging by Warif Afif Ismail. I found out about the end through my phone screen. A bomb dropped. There was gunfire in the background. I heard wailing. Wailing haunts differently to screams. It haunts your bones and makes your skeleton rattle. Wailing strangles you by the chest and thrashes your soul back and forth. It tells you to run for your life. In the same desperate plea, it begs you to hold it tight, to embrace it tenderly. When I saw the bomb dropped on live stream and I felt its fragments pierce my eyes, it concussive blare froze my senses. My body felt a familiar ache. It rolled over me warmly and gradually. With my teary eyes still wild, I churned inside trying to balance. I was cold and electric for a fleeting moment, followed by an eternity of digging and digging and digging and digging, and I couldn't stop shoveling through the pits of my stomach. My hands frigid and heavy, holding the weight of damp, blood-soaked soil. She texted, "I love you." Mom called and sharply hung up. I breathed once more, I blinked twice, and then the bombs landed on me. White, all white, the hues washed my face with speckles, as if I've rubbed the stigmas of my tired eyes. I was suspended for a moment, floating between breaths. Then my heart beat again.
Thank you so much for taking the time to read that poem, Mararo. This is the first time my poetry has been read aloud by anybody but myself,
An
and
honor.
I do appreciate it. I do really appreciate it. I've found myself finding it very difficult to express the whirlwind of emotions that can come with being someone living in diaspora, and I'm sure you're aware, someone away from home and having tacit interaction with the atrocities happening, but being safe within your own space. And I've always find it tricky to communicate this feeling that sits in your stomach where you're excavating your own humanity in search of an answer, but also in search of of this shared hope that we have, while also bearing complicity in just existing around it. So thank you so much for bringing those words to life and for giving an opportunity for them to be read so beautifully. Thank you.
It's such an honor, Warif, and you've captured it so beautifully. How, in many ways, living in the diaspora it's a curse and a blessing at the same time, because the curse is that you find out about what's going on at home often several hours after the fact, and most times there's nothing you can do, even if you do find out about what's going on within the minute. And in many ways, you're trying to words and phones become so incredibly essential to reaching out to others and finding ways to bridge that humanity that is thousands of kilometers away from where we are. And the blessing, in many ways, sometimes becomes a curse, because we're in a way told that we're privileged to be here. We're told that we're incredibly blessed to be in a place where we're so-called living in a functional society. And what does that mean? We're living in a land that is experiencing colonialism, a land that has played a part in dehumanizing Indigenous Australians, and I know, like I'm just so aware as a dad as well, like trying to look after myself in this country. It just opens up how complex that is to exist and try to speak for your humanity, because in many ways it kind of, I'm sorry, I'm just going to go on a bit of a tangent. One of
Please.
Just when I read your poem, the song that came to me is one of Fela Kuti's songs called Beast of No Nation. And in it, he speaks about how the very fact that certain humans get to tell other humans that they're going to give you human rights means that they must not be human, that they must be superior to you, for them to be able to assign who gets to be human and who doesn't get to be human, who gets to be given rights, who doesn't get to be given rights. And I don't know, just your poem in a way just really captured how complex that conversation is, about how normalized it is for suffering to be in certain continents, in certain countries, and how abnormal it is in certain countries, in certain continents. And we have to shine a light on that, and how there are no easy answers, but we must keep trying to find them as best as we can.
That's a beautiful, beautiful interpretation, and thank you so much for sharing those thoughts, Mararo. It gives me a new perspective on the piece itself. excavating and doing the work of excavating your own humanity, excavating your soul, and making understanding is not pleasurable work. It can be hard work, but within that hard work comes a deeper understanding of oneself and then our shared connection. In writing it, I did want to just describe the feelings that do go through my body. I've always been interested in the idea of how to communicate what is felt internally, externally, when coming across the atrocities through your phone screen, through a distance. So thank you so much for
Do you mind
taking.
if I ask a question, or if because this is
Yes,
so rare
yes,
that we have to get to speak to the poet that of the poem that you're reading. As a writer, as a playwright, like I'm so used to writing huge things that have an hour and a half kind of time that you're sitting in. When do you know? When did you know that this poem was finished? When did you know that you had said enough? When did you know that you had come to the end of the idea, the end of the thought, the end of what it was that you're trying to work with, the kind of story that you're trying to tell?
I will answer it similar to how my father answers questions, and when my heart beat again. I think once you've done excavating and once you've done the digging, and sometimes the digging can feel endless. When your heart beats again, when it feels like it's time to move on from it, is when I knew. I also sat down with Afif and we talked about the idea of conscious and unconscious editing to deliver a message within poem. Also the practice of removing key aspects of a poem to be able to deliver a certain message. I'm still learning. This is a first for
We
me.
all are.
So, as I guess when it felt like it conveyed more than what I just had to say in that moment. Initially, it was a concept for a series of graphic panels, like a comic strip, because that's how I view things in a very visual way. But thank you for that question, Mararo. It gives me more to think about.
And so beautifully answered that it conveyed more than you actually intended it is when you know that it said more than what you're trying to say. Thank you. Such a incredibly beautiful answer. Thank you.
I will transition to the next poem, and Marara, I may ask your help with the pronunciation
Of course.
of this one, but
Yeah.
this is a wake for Okibo
Chris,
by Achuna
Christopher
Chibe.
Kibo. Yeah, Chinua Achebe.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
take it away.
perfect. I shall. Awake for Kibo by Chinua Achebe. For whom are we searching? For whom are we searching? For Kibo we are searching. Nzomalizo. Has he gone for firewood? Let him return. Has he gone to fetch water? Let him return. Has he gone to the marketplace? Let him return. For Kibo we are searching. Nzomalizo. For whom are we searching? For whom are we searching? For Kibo we are searching. Nzomalizo. Has he gone for firewood? May Oboko not take him. Has he gone to the stream? May Iyi not swallow him. Has he gone to the market? Then keep him from you tumult of the marketplace. Has he gone to battle? Please, Obonoke, step aside for him. For Kibo we are searching. Nzomalizo. They bring home a dance. Who is to dance it for us? They bring home a war. Who will fight it for us? The one we call repeatedly, there's something he alone can do. It is Okibo we are calling, Nzomalizo. Witness the dance, how it arrives. The war, how it has broken out. But the caller of the dance is nowhere to be found. The brave one in battle is nowhere in sight. Do you not see now that he whom we call again and again, there is something he alone can do? It is the Kibo we are calling, Nzomalizo. The dance ends abruptly. The spirit dancers fold their dance and depart in midday. Rain soaks the stalwart. Rain soaks the two-sided drum. The flute is broken that elevates the spirit. The music pot shattered that accompanies the leg in its measure. Brave one of my blood. Brave one of Igbo land. Brave one in the middle of so much blood. Honor of riches in the dwelling place of spirit. Okibo is the one I'm calling. Nzomalizo.
That was beautiful, Mararo. I always love hearing you read. Your voice is so mellifluous and your points of inflection. It's just like watching you on a stage. Thank you so much for taking the time to read that one. I did want to ask you, could you tell me a little bit more about the significance of choosing this poem and
Of
your
course.
relationship with Achuna Achibe's work and how it sits with you?
Of course. For me, this poem just came regardless of what, I don't know, maybe let me go back. Chinua Achebe for me is one of those writers who reminds me why I do what I do as a writer. He was writing at
Mm,
a time where African writers did not have room to express themselves, did not have room to be able to speak their truths, did not have space to be able to articulate themselves without being pressured by a Western way of storytelling. And yet he persisted so much so that he became, in many ways, the um, the forerunner for African authors. And the first time I actually heard this poem was when Chinua Achebe, I was listening to him over YouTube reading one of his, a section of one of his books, Things Fall Apart. And this book has been so
mm,
incredibly part of my life for the last, what I'd say, as long as I've been in Australia. I read that book at least once or twice every year. It affirms to me why it is that I do what I do. And I heard him read this poem. And when I learned that he had read it in as a in honor of his friend Christopher Okibo, who died during the Biafra War, it just unlocked something for me that an artist could create art in in honor of his other in honor of his fellow artist. And it just there's
mm,
something so beautiful about a man being able to be gentle and being able to be fragile, being able to be delicate, and being able to be take off the mask of so-called masculinity. And he was writing this in the I want to say in the 70s, you know, when we've been told that masculinity looks a certain kind of way. And here he was mourning another man. Here he was mourning his best friend. Here he was saying that we're he's created this poem in honor of his brother, in honor of his friend, in honor of someone who he felt his fellow man who had died during a war um, of a country trying to figure itself out. Yeah, and it's incredibly complex, and Chinua Achebe is so incredibly dear to me, and it's just incredibly well written as anything that Achebe has ever written.
Thank you so much, Mararo. It's a wonderful introspection on your perspective and an insight on the work that you hold dear, as well as how it sits with you. I through your reading, I was just reflecting on how our humanity, our shared humanity, is not confound just to our body. You know, our grief and the way we feel longing and we feel sorrow, and the same in the same vein, the way we feel delight. It is ever universal, and it is almost always asking for us to step outside of ourselves and tap into that.
Amen.
To grieve within community is an amazing thing. It is a common thing in many African cultures,
Amen.
but to grieve in silo and to reflect in silo is also very very common. This work is so deep and so mournful, but so beautiful and tied to Achuna Achibe's humanity and the humanity he saw in his friend as well. So
100%.
thank you so much for
I'll just
taking
say
the time to
one
share
last
that.
thing. I love that he doesn't try and leave the African experience in a victimized kind of way.
Yes.
As the story begins in a way where you get the idea that everything is working, everything is functional, so to speak, and it's a world where things are in alignment. It has nothing to do with a country that's so-called dysfunctional, so-called third world. It's a world that is has kind of much like his story something has fallen apart within it, and he really, in
Mm,
many ways, affirms the African identity in a very with a lot of dignity, with a lot of honor, with a lot of complexity, and he doesn't try and sugarcoat the complexities of it. But it's yeah, I just love that he doesn't try and victimize us as Africans and trying to or try and express our situation in a way that we're always in strife. No, we're this is the chapter that we're in, and we'll get through it.
mm, mm. No, beautifully said, Mararo, beautifully said. I'm going to, after this event, sit with this poem a little bit more and reflect more on it. Thank you so
Thank
much for taking the time to join us tonight. Before we head off to our next segment, Mararo, is there anything that you're currently working on that you'd like to share with the collective? All good if not. I know I've put you on the spot with this
Oh,
one,
wow.
but
Um, I'm actually transitioning from playwriting towards writing for TV and for film. So I'm trying to adapt Black Brass, which was put out in with your dad's incredible help, Afifi Ismail, in 2021 with Perth Festival, and we're trying to adapt it into a film. And I don't know when that's going to happen, but we're just trying to get those, trying to line up our cogs in order for the thing to happen. And I'm also pushing towards writing for TV as well and trying to get some work made that's actually centers the Black diasporic experience in WA, because I'm finding, as much as I love theater, I feel like I've kind of hit a ceiling that where there's not, unfortunately, I think theater is still seen as a very white world, and the kind of story that we oftentimes see on theater are not necessarily very kind towards the African experience. We're usually the taxi driver, the slave. We're usually it's very rare for us to actually see a story that actually centers the African experience in a complex, dignified, authentic way. So in a way, I've kind of put theater on hold for the minute when I'm trying to write several plays that I hope get considered. But I'm finding TV might be the better way of trying to do what James Baldwin left African authors to do, which was to create work that offers up a profound articulation of the Black experience. And I'm trying to align with that and keep pushing forward, inspired by you all, of
amazing,
course.
Mararo. Amazing, Mararo, and we're so excited to see all the brilliant things that you achieve. And I'm sure everybody present tonight is all here in support of you. Thank you so much for being
Thank
open
you.
and sharing that with us. We really appreciate it, Mararo. Hope you can stick around for the
Thank
rest
you
of
so much.
the segments.
100%.
And thanks for
Yeah.
tonight.
Thank you.
Fantastic. From here, we will be transitioning to a video organized by Afif Ismail for Viviane Juguero. Unfortunately, Viviane is unable to join us at the moment, but there is a piece of work and a piece of advocacy for Sudan that we'll be sharing. Thank you for your patience, and the video will start very shortly.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here again. I'm honored to be part of this movement called Poetry for Sudan. I really believe that the arts are the way that we have to change the world from the roots. So because of that, I think it's deeply meaningful what you do. And I really feel very attached with the situation in Sudan. Brazil is the second blackest country in the world. We have a huge Afro-descendant community here. I work a lot with Black theater in Brazil. And internationally, as you said, I'm part of the Nordic Black theater in Norway as well, and in many other countries. And these beautiful bonds of generosity, I guess sometimes we need to speak loud about how many people are engaged in sharing good perceptions of the world and understanding that the cultural roots are the reason for everything, for the good and for the bad. So we need to change culture. I love a sentence by Mahatma Gandhi that says, "The world has enough for everyone's need, but not for everyone's greed." So we need to understand that the way we guide our emotions and our values are based on our cultural perceptions. So yeah, I have been dedicating my life to study that. And I'm glad to share with you that I have a scientific, huge study on that was published at the Journal of Art and Research in Norway last week. So I shared with you the link in the chat. So if you can share with people in the Facebook page, I think we need to understand that we are aesthetic beings. We have been discussing many ways to change the world, and we have these relevant and impact and important sustainable development goals from the United Nations, but almost never they mention culture, only one time as heritage. And we need to understand that our cultural perceptions are our roots in this world. We are aesthetic beings. So we need to perceive that it's the way to change the way we are perceiving the world. And yeah, I also pay my respects to all people in Sudan and in other parts of the world, in Palestine, and also the civilians in Israel, and all people among many wars, and even in Brazil, because we don't have a war, but we, especially Black young men, they are murdered in Brazil more in all the wars together. And we need to speak loud about that. We need to speak loud about violence against women in Brazil, and trans people and LGBTQA+. But we have hope, and we can see many things that are changing. So I would like to share with you a poem that I wrote for Poetry for Sudan, and I have the pleasure to say that it was translated into 15 languages. And I recorded this poem with some partners who work with me in Bando de Brincantes, that you said very well, in Brazil. So I would like to share this video with you if possible. I don't know if you have the link. I sent the link to, but here, yeah, so please.
Percussive vibrations for Sudan. Oppressed people of Sudan, we hear you. Children of Sudan, we resonate with you. Inside the womb, the beating of a heart, the first sound patterns for life to start. In every human, universal echoes claim. Percussive rhythm allows experiences to remain. When winds grief distorts values and emotions, the drumming beats lose their balance, making noise. Abominable actions become chosen options. The sound of love turns into a broken voice. Percussive gunshots reverberate with dread. Percussive bombs echo the vibes of death. How can winners boast about what they have led? Ceasing lives, young and old, in one breath. Oppressed people of Sudan, we hear you. Children of Sudan, we resonate with you. Each individual resonates in the community. Each community resonates with the entire world. So why can't we perceive a coherent unity and generous ears to hear the stories to be told? Amidst natural disasters, hunger, wars, rich countries display gardens with plenty of flowers, nurtured by past and present blood and scars, from the people who they abuse to build their power. Now, comfortably watching the news on the couch, they try to dry the ocean of their cathartic satires under the beating of popcorn to fill their mouth, switching to the football to cheer, avoiding fears. The bright percussive sound of bumping coins guides the path of this selected empathy. Since some brutalities call compassion to get a joy, and others don't deserve a glance of sympathy. How can powerful nations just close their eyes while one's she dies, babies are starving, raped women, abused elderly, violence. And on the top, international forces and their deadly silence. Oppressed people of Sudan, we hear you. Children of Sudan, we resonate with you. Sudan, enchantable, gorgeous land of pyramids of hope. Your rich culture is in contrast with your sorrow. The entire world should bring you a better tomorrow in the harmonic rhythm of a future to unfold. May oppressed people's hope result in trust. May the wind of justice clean the evil dust, which is hiding your fantastic cultural heirlooms and hindering new ones from blooming soon. Percussive vibrations sound for Sudan from the snow, and the rumble of ancestral roots to a lasting hill. May your new tapestry display colors of joy, a better place for every girl and each boy. Oppressed people of Sudan, we hear you. Children of Sudan, we resonate with you.
That was a video and poetic performance by Viviane Juguero. Unfortunately, Viviane was unable to join us tonight, but it's great that we were able to have that footage from a previous Gadamna Sabah Cultural Forum. Thank you in spirit to Viviane. From here, we are going to transition to a open mic segment. We've had one person in the chat volunteer to take on the open mic. Abdul Rahman Abu Zaid, I'm going to look to unmute you, and if you're comfortable with being on video, we would love for you to share your poem. Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight and for volunteering to read. Could you please let us know a little bit about yourself and the poem that you'll be reciting this evening?
Okay, I'm Abdul Rahman Abu Zaid, Abu Zaid Digel. Abu Zaid Digel. I'm originally from Sudan, and I'm based in Newcastle upon Tyne, in northeast of England. I'm a storyteller, filmmaker, playwright, actor, jack of all art trades. But I don't call myself a poet. I say I'm a storyteller. And I studied filmmaking, and I've got masters in creative writing. Now I'm writing a novel about mental health and well-being. Mainly, I use art to create social change. I work with asylum seekers, refugees, and there is always a story to tell. Recently, I write about what's going on in Sudan, and this massive displacement happened to us. Because it's affected us in general, and my last writing about the people that I lost from my own family, my brother, my father, my sister, my father, and close friends. So this is what it's about. And yeah, so it's just a question. It's a confusion for the people. I don't care who pulled the trigger. I don't care. But it's like for both of them, why you want to eliminate our nation? Civil war in a risky situation. Is it political rules or your dirty goals? Is it political rules or your dirty goals? It was Peaceland before, now opens the store. That high score loses many, many more. This now in Khartoum, it was in Darfur. Just I'm asking why for? Is it political rules or dirty goals? Silence and guidance. Lost graves. My elder sister died and buried while I was at exile. Inside pain, nightmares, daymares, troubling my soul for a while. I never visited her grave. Never visited her grave. I mourned her loudly. No shame, I was brave. When my second eldest sister died in the war, my heart was tore that I couldn't see her anymore. I cried silently inside my soul's cave. When my dad passed away recently, I was shocked. Not just because I lost my dad. Mentally, I suffered so bad. Physically, it hurts. I felt mad. But the most thing affected me in all of that, I don't have any savings to travel to see my dad. I never visited any one of them graves. Never. But now I feel peace. Not because I'm a positive person or I'm smart or I'm using the healing through art. It's not easy for me to restart. I'm sure of that. Even we scattered apart, I knew that all of them, they were buried inside my heart. And that's the lost graves.
Thank you so much for sharing your stories and your poetry. It is so deeply meaningful and moving. I really do appreciate the opportunity to be able to connect with you and to get to meet you virtually. And I hope that we can hear more of your poetry and your storytelling in maybe later in the show or even in the next segments of Qidamna Sabah. Thank you so much. Shukran jazilan.
You are more than welcome. Just I want to say thank you, Qidamna Sabah, for everything you do for us and also for the people who read here. And yeah, there's always story to tell. And thank you for Vivian for sharing our voice there in Brazil. And thank you for Vivian for Mahjoub Sharif reading. And thank you. And thanks to your friend who read your poem as well. It's nice to hear like different voices. And yeah, all that because of Qidamna Sabah. Peace and love.
Peace and love to you as well. Peace and love to you as well. In looking through the chat, we have one more reader present at the moment. I'm just going to unmute you here, but Colin, would you like to share an introduction about yourself and an introduction to the piece that you'll be reading today?
Sure. Colin Archibald, originally from London, England, of Jamaican heritage. Now reside in Perth, Western Australia, where I've been for 20 years. I'm actually in Bali at the moment, having a bit of R&R and just been doing some bits and pieces here. I'm also a playwright, poet-ish, storyteller, and just trying to, understand this complicated world and just piece together my own life and my own journey through my work. The piece I'm going to read today, it's called The Mirror Never Lied. Okay.
Thank you so much, Colin.
No problem. Was I ever free to see the beauty in me? Or was I born into a world already divided? Each decision made on where we stand or who we're allowed to be. History whispering that if you divide and blame, you never have to face the truth. Fear passed down like inheritance, a quiet system that never lets go. Is this how it's always been? It baffles me how deeply we've absorbed architecture, the architecture of manipulation, how something so global can feel so personal. What if all this design was built for love instead? Acceptance for peace. I'm not naive enough to believe it would be easy. But still, what if? because for so long my reflection disgusted me. Why? Why were my lips so big? Why didn't my thick afro move like the hair on TV? Why couldn't I shape myself into something that looked like belonging? Black beauty was never shown to me, not in the way I needed it. So I learned to reject the mirror, even though it never lied. My skin was too dark to hide, too visible to escape. And yet there was hope. In flashes, in music and sport, in those who look like me and dare to shine. They lit something in me, a small fire, but it never lasted. Because I was always returned to my normal, hidden in my own mind, but never invisible. Could I look at you? No. Could I laugh with you? Not fully. Because belief, even that felt dangerous. Another form of control, another way to keep us small. So understand this, behind every marginalized face lives something deeper. Not anger, not weakness, but fear. The kind that asks for safety, for belonging, for a place to finally rest. Because to be safe, to have somewhere to call home, that is the greatest privilege of all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Colin. I couldn't move faster to unmute it to say how touching that poem was, and really appreciate having you here tonight to share. Could you let us know a little bit more about your connection to this poem and how you feel reading it altogether?
Yeah, I think a lot of time I've worked with Vivienne Glance, which kind of like breathes amazing life into a play that she directed and I wrote last year, and I think Vivienne would tell you that my emotions really run wild when I'm speaking about this stuff. So it's basically about my formative years growing up in London as a first generation child born to migrant parents, and just trying to navigate life and to find a sense of belonging. And you look in the mirror and it doesn't represent anything that you see externally. You know, I go to school and I was learning everything about kings and queens and Romans and all these, but I never learned anything about anyone that looked like me. You know, it was always about the victor, never about the people that were oppressed. And yeah, and it was just the things that I experienced, and and I think the journey of self-love has evolved into the work I do now, because I think I speak a lot in this piece around hiding. And so it was hiding, it was running, both metaphorically and physically, from the members of the far right back in the day there. So, but it's very cathartic, the work that I do now and the writing that I've kind of like really jumped into over the last 18 months, really, to compile this kind of work. And it's just a way of me telling my story, but just making people aware, as Mararo said as well, that when we live in these Western worlds, there's sometimes no idea of what we carry and how we're trying to protect ourselves and also our children and our communities, who there's such a lack of awareness around the weight and the burden that we carry, because we have to show up every single day. And as I know my parents had to, and it was always in spite of. So yeah, that's just a piece that I wrote. I think that was last year at some point.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. The weight that we carry sticks with me, and I've had very similar experiences to the things the poem describes, as I'm sure many of us living diaspora have as well. And it's beautiful. It truly, really is. I might have to message you later, Colin, to get
Yep.
a copy of that so I can read it some more. But thank you so much
Yeah,
for
no problem.
tuning in tonight, and thank you for joining us. Switching over now to Nandi. Nandi, thank you so much for joining us this evening. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you, Warif, and thank you so much for having me. I feel honoured to be amongst all you people. as an ally, as a white fella ally. Yeah, it's really wonderful to be hearing these poems and to be allied with you in the struggle for what's happening in Sudan.
Thank you, Nandi. Nandi, I'm going to read a little bit of your bio, but I'm going to lean on you a little bit for pronunciation. If you're able to jump in and help me out at any moment, I would really appreciate that. It'll further my learning as well. For everybody that is currently present, we have Dr. Nandi Chinna. Dr. Nandi Chinna works as a research consultant, creativity facilitator, and a poet based in unceded Aboriginal land in Bulu, colonially known as Perth, and in Bun Uba lands in Fitzroy Crossing, also located in Western Australia. Nandi, how was the pronunciation on that one? Is there
Pretty good. With Bunaba, it's Bunaba, not Banuba.
Bunba?
Bunaba. But yeah.
Thank you so much, Nandi.
Thank you. So I'm going to read a poem by Muhammad El-Mahi Ibrahim, translated by Adil Babikir. And then I'm going to, yeah, I hope I pronounced that okay.
Oh, perfect. Nandi will be reading Song for October by Muhammad Al-Maki Al-Ibrahim and Adil, translated by Adil Babikir. This poem is deeply significant to the Sudanese people and our plight for ongoing liberation and freedom. Take it away when you get the chance there, Nandi.
Thank you, Warif. Songs for October. 1. Martyr. In his village, he was the sorghum field, brimming with heavily laden stalks, the cotton field blooming with luminous bowls. He was 20, yet to see 1,000 suns still heading his way, yet to taste the bliss of marriage. He was unarmed, except for a chant on his lips and a stone on his hand. He was at the front line, leading the way. A shot was fired. A bath of blood poured. Out of his fellow's arms he slipped away. His blood scented the ground, sending quivers on the soil veins. An approaching dawn bolted back. His hair went grey. The night's hair split into 2 braids. The stars and embryos shockingly watched, hair raised. The breeze of heavens gracefully blew on his face. The cart horses exchanged neighs, flapping their wings in praise. Thus, on a soft feather cushion, his chaste soul ascended to a hero's welcome in eternity. There he was celebrated as a revolutionary, a leader of martyrs, an icon of sacrifice and patriotism. 2. The Green October. Your name, a synonym of triumph, is blossoming in people's hearts, injecting faith and good omen, a scarf wrapped around the jungle and the desert, and a torch in our hands and a weapon. Armed with October, we won't flinch, won't step back an inch. We'll hit on rocks until they give birth to plants and greenery. We will stay the course of glory until our name is entered in the book of eternity. The land is singing your green name, O October. The fields have burst into wheat, promise and hopes. And the land, its troves flung open, is chanting with your name's blessing. The masses have made it to victory. The jail walls are down and the chains are bracelets dangling from a bride's wrist. October has been in our nation since the dawn of history. Behind the veils of sorrow and grief it lurked, steadfast and alert. At the break of dawn, out it came, setting fire on history and setting itself aflame. October was present in our early upheaval with Al-Mak al-Nimir. It was the green swords in demonstrators' hands. It was with Almaz in his heroic stance. And now, once again, it responded to Gorashi's call, leading us to victory.
Thank you so much for your reading and for taking time to join us today, Nandi. I would love to provide a little context on these poems and then to ask you about your reflections and interpretations of them. The title, Song for October, pays tribute to pivotal events of the 21st of October 1964 in Sudan, when the Sudanese people rose up collectively in a powerful set of demonstrations and nationwide strikes of civil disobedience in many ways, ultimately bringing down an end to a military regime led by Ibrahim Aboud. The poem seeks to echo the spirit of the moment in two parts. Its courage, its unity of the people. And the poem itself is an enduring resonance has enduring resonance in Sudanese culture and political memory. Nandi, with this context in mind, could you let us know how this poem sat with you and what were some of your takeaways through your readings?
I found it incredibly moving. And I just loved the way the poet uses the land and the plants as metaphor for the deep roots of the culture in the place. In his village, he was the sorghum field. You know, it's very powerful, it's direct. It shows us that he is this place and this place is him. And, you know, the fact that his blood's poured into it, he was fighting for it without a weapon. It just makes me feel so sad for what's happening now and for the long struggle. You know, that people have had to leave, they've had to flee, and so many people have lost their lives just for wanting to be free in their own land. And the way the poet talks about Green October, of, you know, having faith in some kind, like in some kind of future, that this did happen, and it was a moment of joy. It was a moment of courage. And yeah, it's something to hold on to.
And within these moments, they don't disappear. They're captured in this writing. They sit in the hearts of Sudanese people and are interpreted in so many ways. There is a deep connection to land, a deep connection to the country, to the nation, and more so to the souls present within it. And I'm sure, as everybody within this event has done tonight, explored their own humanity and tapped into this beautiful thing, this shared humanity, which makes us feel for those struggling overseas, for those under colonial rule or in times forced occupation. Nandi, in your bio, it states that your poetry has its genesis in strong determination to craft creative works and poetry as a response to ecologies and the layers of history attached to particular places. I feel like this poem is deeply attached to a specific moment, but continuously within the African plight for human rights, a plight that has spanned almost all of history, known history as long as we're looking back. And that is why it is so deep and so meaningful to the Sudanese people. I hope that this poem also provides you a reflection of place when it comes to Sudan from the poet's point of view, to view it as these moments of tragedy, not something that is definitive of the land, but there is hope and then there is green that will come again. Speaking about that aspect of your biography, could you please let us know about the next poem that you'll be reading from your own personal collection titled Seeds?
Sure. So I wrote this in response to another poet, another poem by the poet Heba Abu Nada, who was a Palestinian poet. She was recently killed in her home, well, in 2003. She was 32 years old. She was a poet. She was also a biochemist. She was a nutritionist. And she worked at the Islamic University and the Al-Azhar University that have both been destroyed by Israeli strikes. And the lines that I wrote my poem from are from a poem that she wrote called Not Just Passing. And those lines were, to those who are trembling, one day a garden sprouted from our names. All of you, come in. So this is how I responded to that. Seeds. Ode to those trembling shoots of green, the sprouted seeds of our tears. Come up overnight in the dried husk of late summer brown, sorrowful ground. Our knees finally buckle and we lay ourselves down. Breath yields into beginnings and endings, bodies crumbling indentations. Worn away by time and wind, how else will we grow our gardens except with our names, our listening and our sorrow? To make of last year's crop a new growth, to make of growth a fertile reciprocity. Look up, aliveness is silhouetted there, spiky and tough, forming fruits against a darkening sky. When we cut the veins of the Hardenbergia, they bleed dark blood into the soil. Add water, compost, all of you, come in.
I really wanted to take a moment to thank you for providing context to this poem and for then furthermore sharing it with us, Nandi. Could you tell us about I guess the point in time where you've written this and how it sits with you now in reflection of everything that is occurring in this world?
Oof, it's a big one.
Yeah, that is very big. Feel free to address it in small part. It's okay.
You know, I mean, I'm a privileged white fella. I haven't had to go through what the Sudanese people have gone through, what the Palestinians are going through, what Australian First Nations people are going through and have been through. But as a human, I just feel the pain of people losing their land, people being murdered, raped. Yeah, all the violence that's going on in the world. As I'm sure most people feel it overwhelming. And that poem, I suppose, was just a way to engage with it, but also to try and find some hope. You know, I guess a little bit like the Sudanese poem I read. We have our names, and our names show where we belong or tell us where we've come from. And, you know, when I'm saying what else can we, and when I read Heba Abu Nada's words, one day a garden sprouted from our names, I could really relate to that because, you know, I have a deep concern for ecological devastation as well. And, you know, and war just brings so much of that. That's, you know, that's another side of war. Apart from the devastating losses of human lives, it's what it does to places, to the soil. And I just thought, well, our names are something that we can hang on to, that show us where we belong. And we can plant gardens in our name with our names, whether those gardens are a poem, whether they are a song or a plea, whatever. Yeah, we can. It's one way of us kicking back and using our anger, I suppose, and our grief in a way. You know, if we can't be physically there to grow the garden, maybe we can grow poems from our names.
Beautifully, beautifully said, Nandi. And thank you so much for taking the time tonight to invite us into your poetry, into your garden per se, and for being in this space with us. Really do appreciate it. Do you have another poem that you would like to read, or would that be it for this evening?
That's probably it. Yeah. I
Well,
can if you
if
really
you
want
feel,
me to, but I know that Vivian's waiting, so
if you would like to present another one, if you're able to stay around, we would love to have you. Feel free to send a message in the chat if you're available later on.
okay, thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much,
so
Nandi.
much. Thank you, everybody who's here tonight. I'm honored to be here with you.
Brilliant, brilliant. Before you leave, I did want to ask, did you have anything coming up that you would like to share with the collective? Anything to do with your work in whatever space that you feel comfortable sharing?
I do have an exhibition coming up. Well, I performed last week at Chili Jam. But in May, I have, I think it's the 23rd of May, it opens, an exhibition at the Continental Cafe in Fremantle on South Terrace with a bunch of other people, which is about like just maintaining creativity when you're older, when you're an older person. And, you know, because we live in such a youth culture, it's like our elders, our older people just have so much wisdom because they've lived so much longer. So that's what the exhibition is about. It's about older people sharing some of that experience. It's called
Thank you for sharing that with us. Sorry, I've cut you off there. Could you repeat that, Nandi?
It's called Anyang. The exhibition is called Anyang, and my poetry will be part of that.
No problem. I will note that down. Exhibition in South Fremantle, Anyang. Could you let us know the date just once more for everybody present within the videos and chats?
I will just have to quickly grab an invitation. So this is the invitation. It's gone behind now.
Oh, there
It's
we
called
go.
the Anyang Chronicles, and it's running from the 24th of May to the 3rd of July. So it's quite a long time.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
At South Terrace, South Fremantle, the Anyang Chronicles.
Thank you so much, Nandi. So
Thank
Anyang
you.
Chronicles running from the 24th of May to the 3rd of July in South Terrace in Fremantle if you're in town and able to attend. Thank you again for tonight, Nandi.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one. From here, we will look to continue on with our poetry readings, inviting in Viviane Juguero all the way from Brazil. Viviane, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. I'm so happy to be here again in this wonderful, action that you have for so many years. And I feel deeply connected and deeply honored to be here with my friend Afif Smile and with all of you.
Thank you so much, Viviane. In earlier on in the previous segments, we were watching a video of your poetry and your performance from a previous Gidamna Sabah cultural forum. But we are really looking forward to hearing you speak virtually and reading through some of the poetry. Just to kick it off, Viviane, can you let us know a little bit about yourself and provide a brief bio about yourself and your art and your connection to the Sudanese poetry?
Okay, so I am a playwright and director and actress, and in Brazilian, I work with arts, especially for children and young people, for 30 years. I have this group called Bando de Brincantes. There is a collective group from the south of Brazil, especially composed by Black and Brown people. And we deeply work with representativeness and with different ways of showing perspectives of Brazil and the Brazilian art and the Brazilian comprehension of its own history. And we usually work with theater, but we also create audiovisual series and music. We create a lot of music for all works. And I met Afif because he's also part of the International Association of Art for Young Audiences. And since we met for the first time, I got, so impressed for him. So he have been collaborating with me. I gave many classes in Nordic Black Theater in Norway because I have been working there. And Afif have been with my students for at least 3 times, I guess. And also in Brazil, I wrote a play about contemporary children living diaspora, how they experience their situation being so young. And Afif was a partner. He was giving me advice and giving some suggestions. So in my heart, he is my brother, and I really feel a deep connection with what is going on in Sudan. And after I met Afif, I made this DNA test, and I actually found a little part of my DNF from Sudan, and it was from the same place Afif come from. So it was very interesting. And we really value our African, roots in Brazil. So for me, it's very important to be here. I feel also empowered myself because I think we have many things in common. I only feel sad and angry that not all wars and violence in the world have the same repercussion. So in Brazil, very little people knows what is going on in Sudan, not with the same knowledge they have about other wars and violence in the world. And I think it's still a sign that we have a lot to do and use your tools of love, let's say, to fight this this cultural war as well.
Thank you so much, Vivienne, and it's great to meet you virtually for the first time. And earlier I mentioned we engaged with one of your poems and performances, which was amazing to see. I'm very excited to hear you read Beloved Azza as our first poem here by Khalil Farah, translated by Adil Babikir. When you are ready, please take it away.
Okay, I really want to thank you for choosing this moving and beautiful poem. I will do my best to my pronunciation of Arabic names, and I don't know how it will sound for you, but I tried to practice. But you can correct me if you want. Okay, let me just find it. My beloved Asa, our passion for you, Asa, is firm and stout. Like mountains we stand, hard to sway. Our bones streak, alert and taut, keep intruders away. I never forsook my homeland, the land of ultimate beauty. I always sought perfection, never rested for less. My heart never throbbed for someone else. As to be left, Eileen, take me in your right hand and embrace. I can never forget Bilau's chart, our playgrounds under the shade, like flowers on hilltops, leaping on reach the stars, a palm frond crescent braided on my forehead. Your chaste charm is a blessing on my heart. The flames of your love are healing my wounds. Your conceit is innocent playfulness. My tears as sweet as pure water. I grow in awe of you. As in grandeur every day you grow. In Khartoum you come out, from the groves of Shanba you sprout. Mountains guarding Omdurman, and deep in your heart I do find you, a cure to my most stubborn ailment. Staying all night awake, counting stars on my camel back, out of food and of patience, I can't wait to reunite with my gazelle-eyed back at home.
Thank you so much, Vivienne. Beautiful, beautiful reading and a very, very, very impactful poem to many, many Sudanese people. I'll look to provide a little bit of context now, very briefly, on Aza fi Hawak by Khalil Farah, translated by Adil Babikir, and My Beloved Aza. It is inspired by the legacy of Khalil Farah, whose lifetime spanned between 1894 and 1932. Khalil was a renowned Sudanese singer, composer, and poet who wrote in both Sudanese colloquial Arabic dialect and modern standard Arabic. Farah is regarded as one of the leading pioneers in early 19th century cultural and artistic renaissance in Sudan, particularly in the realm of music and poetic expression. Emerging during the rise of nationalist movements in early 1920s, his work powerfully articulated the aspirations of the people seeking freedom. His poetry and songs voiced resistance to Anglo-Egyptian rule during that time and became an enduring symbol for national pride, political consciousness, and a longing for self-determination, liberation, and individual independence. Among some of his most celebrated work, Aza fil Hawak, My Beloved Aza, is deeply evocative. The piece itself expresses a love for the homeland through lyrical and symbolic language. The poem and its interpolation to a song has achieved an iconic status among Sudanese people and within the Sudanese cultural zeitgeist and cultural memory, as we mentioned earlier with the erasure of ecological sites also comes the erasure of people and their cultural expressions. But this symbol has persisted, showing how powerful it is among Sudanese people. It is kind of regarded as an unofficial national anthem due to the emotional resonance and historical significance it possesses. With this context in mind, could you let me know how this poem sat with you, and where were you at when you were first engaging with it?
Well, I got very moved. I thought I was so, because of this, importance it has for Sudanese people. I also feel it so beautiful because it used this metaphor of a personal love, and to use it to address your own land, like showing this deep, deep love that even when you suffer, you will still love it a lot. Like you can't avoid loving your land, and even if it makes you suffer. So it's what I got from it, and at the same time I feel the same, because Brazil is wonderful, it's fantastic, it's beautiful, but at the same time there is a lot of injustice and social discrepancy, and absurd things happen here as well. Not the same as as it is in Sudan, but at the same time, it's hard. But that's what I think is that poem gives us hope. I feel that. So it's important to keep our hope. I think hope is revolutionary, because it keeps us fighting, and fighting for love, not fighting for revenge, but fighting for transformation, and keeping our ability to love and to feel empathy for people. What I think is the biggest problem we have in the world right now is the absence of empathy, the lack of personal perception of what is going on, the greed. And so our fight is to make it possible to change culturally the way people feel the world. I always say that if we don't change, if we don't have a sustainable culture, we will never have a sustainable city, and we will never have a sustainable world. So I feel we still need to keep believing that our poems matter. What I take from this poem.
Beautifully said, Vivian, and that hits very close to my heart regarding having sustainable places and sustainable spaces to foster love and connection. And I believe that this poem does this in tremendous ways. I just wanted to pay respects to the translator of this poem, Adil Babikir. Thank you so much for your translation and interpretation of this poem. It remains still dearly held in the hearts of many Sudanese people, and having an English version to engage with allows those living in diaspora, those young people, the Shabab, to connect with it in a different way. So thank you for that translation, and thank you, Vivian, for that wonderful reading. As we move on to our next poem, Vivian, do you have one of your own pieces that you would like to share tonight?
Well, but I really would like to have the Arabic version of this poem. My son is studying Arabic, and I hope one day he can understand and read the poem in Arabic. So if you could send me the Arabic version, I would be very grateful. And also, I'm very glad to meet you now for the first time. I hope one day we all can meet personally.
I feel very, very glad to meet you too, Vivienne, and I do hope that we can meet in person one day. In regards to your poem and its translation, I'll pass on the message to Afif, and I hope that we can connect you with translators to be able to put your wonderful work in a different language. As mentioned in Vivienne Glance's poem earlier, and across the sentiments of this event, language has power, and it has the power to connect us in many different ways. So thank you so much for attending tonight and for your wonderful reading of Beloved Aza, and known in Arabic. Aza fi hawak. So much, Vivienne.
Okay, thank you.
As we're nearing the end of the poetry reading segment for tonight, we would love to circle back to Vivienne Glance for a final reading in the stead of Dr. David Moody, who unfortunately could not attend tonight. We want to send our best wishes to David. He's unwell at the moment, and Vivienne will be reading 10 Songs for Life, written by Mahjoub Sharif and translated by Asha Musa. Take it away when you have the chance, Viv.
Thank you so much, Warif, and it's absolutely been such a joy to listen to everybody's poetry and words and comments and contributions. 10 Songs for Life. 1. Mountains enveloped by night, yet the grumbling flowage and the horses whinnying still heard, the blemishing fire of rage and hunger sparkling through the plague. 2. Brave martyrs' boiling blood, in gloomy death coat wrapped, the glorious path he took, always filled with the masses, waving 1,000 flags, echoing the sweetest songs, the gleaming distant star, witness shining from afar. 3. Throughout the years, the Nile flows, strong but gently it goes. At night it glitters and shows an armed knight with gleaming sword, embracing us in peace. We climb his shoulder on the left, we descend his shoulder on the right. But to say, I am his master, who has such a right? 4. In the curb of the long, long road, a seed escapes the sack of a weak and lonely traveller who dies of thirst, no coming back. The seed grows. It blossoms and blows. The traveller finds a welcome track. 5. A bird from one end of the land on its way to the other end. It knows the harvest time. It knows the season's rhyme, the time when fields in blossom and when the locusts chime. It cries when a hunter's trigger should aim at the nest and titter. 6. What a woman! The least to say is that she is the dearest of humans. She weighs 12 men. She walks and never bends, holding her head high. She walks between well and shore, up and down she keeps ably, by day with sawaki, by night weaving tawaki, and always there when babies cry. 7. So lively, disciplined, and in zeal, the ant in the queer queue, or when alone, is always determined to make things go. No force or fear of rule watching behind, no worry, no hurry, nor plot to hide. So much better than human deceit. Hop, hyla, 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 hop. she finds herself on board a ship. And once again, a road in town, still with the same zeal and zest, no worry, no hurry in her queer queue, escaping a foot crush overhead flew from a playful child, or heat aglow, stubbornly hanging to the seed at hand. The seed belongs to the Union Band. 8. Miraculous. The floating cloud and the link between roots and seeds still deep in the ground. The songs of birds and the raging war so loud, with sword and spear, and the link of the woods and the wild, the rhubarber and scarf, the course of the Nile and the door shutter, and the crying of a prep school child seeking a lead pencil she dropped on a bus, with the rumbling of lead bullets yonder, where bread is by the wanton hands monopolized, something to eat for a long time non-existent, something to drink for a long time non-existent, and hence a strike. 9. The sun rises, the smallest in a mount. You can see the great ports start to ascend and the factories vividly roar, streets and bridges fill, and chests with pride soar. With crowds of workmen brisk with thrill, palaces shrink, sensing the chill of the creeping end. 10. The city wakes up, a bath, a light, a cigarette and the morning tea, a penny for food, a penny for mutton, a song just to cheer up while fixing a button, a stitch to mend the garment and think of the sorrow. She curses the government, throws away the pound, useless and rotten. She dusts her shoes off, and off to face the knotty life, she tears to rags her shirt and beats the children. Why beat the children? Why beat the children? Long live strive. Strive worries the government. It puffs and glazes with the fire of the fight. It stunts and grunts until daylight. It stealthily creeps out, crooked, sad, and silent. It gets in a fit and in asylum resides. And long live the heroes. Long live the heroes. Keep ablaze the fight. Long live strive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vivienne, and thank you to Ustaz Mahjoub Sharif for encapsulating Sudanese spirit in a beautiful way through his writing, and for the translation of Dr. Asa Musa. Thank you so much. As we're reflecting back on a night of poetry, a night of reflection into our own humanity and then our collective shared humanity. Viv, how has this poem sat with you? Was this your first time reading it, or have you engaged with it previously?
This is the first time I've come across this poem, and I only was asked to do it this afternoon, so I haven't really been able to sit with it very long. But what I like about it is the episodic nature of it. Of it, 10 songs, and I imagine many of them have been turned into songs. Well, I hope they have. And again, it's the same thing as I said earlier. There's the minutiae that becomes so significant and becomes then, it resonates and amplifies into the broad, and poetry that does that, that can take the small thing and then make it into the universal is really, really beautiful and wonderful. And again, there's always the hope, there's always the struggle, there's always the desire for freedom and peace.
Thank you so much, Vivienne. I think that desire of hope, peace, liberation is embedded in so much of Mahjoub Sharif's work, and he weaves that passion that sits within all Sudanese people, with all people that have unfortunately experienced a facet of oppression in some way, so clearly and so wonderfully. And we are just reviewing the chat over here. I can see that Dr. Hashem Musa would like to join us to provide a comment, and we feel very honored to have him join. Dr. Hashem Musa, I'm going to look to open up the microphone to you here. Thank you so much, Vivienne, once more. Really appreciate it.
Assalamu alaikum.
Well,
Good Sabah. Thank you very much indeed for a very nice evening for you and midday for us. I have enjoyed every minute of this session that you have started about 2 hours ago. And thank you very much, Vivienne, for giving me a good example of what I have been wondering and thinking of all the time I am translating. I keep thinking, does the message reach the person who speaks the other language I'm translating into? Now, I am more committed to translation after listening to you reading so beautifully. And I can't read it myself this way. And actually, you haven't made any mistake in the pronunciations and everything. So I think now I am very much convinced that translating poetry is a very important message, cultural and literal and everything that makes us reach the people we are targeting. I mean, I am so happy now that so many people sitting here, even the number is not that big yet, like when tens of people have listened to Mahjoub Sharif with my translations and your beautiful voice and way of saying it, being a poet yourself, I think it made it so beautiful that you have made the right gesturing, the right time, and you have said it the right way. I have been longing to see someone do it. One of my daughters read it before, but it wasn't that good. I hope she doesn't listen to me now and what I am saying. So again, thank you very much. And I think it is a very important message that you are transferring today through this session, and I hope that it continues because we really would like our voices to be heard, and we would like to hear your voices. And I would be very more than honored to translate to any of you if you want any of your beautiful poems translated into Arabic. We are all here, and I am sure that Adil Babikir would say the same thing because there is this cooperation between us in translating poetry. Today, you make me not feel like a successful translator, but also a poet. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful to meet you, Asha, and thank you so much for your kind words. I'm deeply honored to have the opportunity to read them. Thank you. And we'll be in touch, maybe. I would love to have
Inshallah. And really the way you نقول شنو المنصة, your platform has presented all this evening has been beautiful. There's nothing more than this can be said or done. Thank you all very much indeed.
Shukran.
Yalla, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Shukran. Dr. Hassan Musa, I wanted to provide a personal thank you to you for your translation. For many of us, Shabab, the young people who have been separated from home and in ways separated from being surrounded by the language which our soul craves and wishes to speak in many ways, having your translation in a way to engage with the works of Ustaz Mahjoub Sharif and the work of Adil Babikar as well has allowed us to connect with our culture and connect with our humanity and connect with this essence of who we are, although we are so far away. So thank you for your lifetime of work and your ongoing work within this field. We are deeply appreciative. Shukran, shukran. Before I get too emotional, I would love to be able to say a few words in conclusion of today's event. Once more, thank you for Dr. Asha Musa for joining us and for Dr. Vivienne Glance for her last recitement of Mahjoub Sharif's work, 10 Songs for Life, translated by Dr. Asha Musa. To sign off and close off for tonight, I wanted to take the time to thank everybody who attended today's readings and those who participated in the open mic sessions as well, and say that I feel a sense of deeper connection to our shared humanity, and it is amazing to be able to be in the presence of such amazing artists, and I'm deeply appreciative of the time you've taken for tonight. As we're sitting back and reflecting on 2 hours of poetry, 2 hours of engagement, I wanted to touch point on what is occurring in Sudan at the moment and continue to advocate for humanitarian action around this anti-revolutionary war and the ongoing atrocities within the nation. As mentioned previously, Sudan is facing one of the world's largest humanitarian catastrophes through the anti-revolutionary war. What is happening in Sudan can be considered an active genocide among many of the active genocides occurring within this world. There is no distinction between the dictatorship government of this dictatorship Sudanese government and its militia arms known as the RSF and the SAF. The United Nations has documented horrific brutality, including military occupation, including ethnic cleansing, acts of genocide, war crimes. It is very difficult to read through this. Use of chemical weapons, as well as rape and sexual violence as a weapon of war. Currently, there is no humanitarian corridor present in Sudan. Aid cannot reach the people in need. It is so important that we advocate for just fundamental humanitarian action from our democratically elected officials. Famine is present within Sudan, and it is at an epigenetic level with the consequences that is present. Please note that the overall international aid efforts have diminished, and general coverage of what is occurring in Sudan has also diminished from the global landscape, whilst the presence of foreign arms and weaponry have increased. Altogether, more than 12 million people have been uprooted from their homes, from their nation. Current figures estimate that 9 million people are internally displaced. For those that live within Western Australia, Perth itself is no more than 3.5 million. I think the sheer scale of the atrocities occurring in this world can be misrepresented or can be hard to imagine, but it is grand and it is horrific. While roughly 4 million people are living in diaspora as refugees as a result of the ongoing war and anti-revolutionary war in Sudan. I wanted to note that major infrastructure has failed, with 80% of hospitals having shut down or have been destroyed, and most of the country is experiencing deliberate communication blackouts, taking away the human right for people to connect with one another, to communicate, to even reach out to those that are concerned about them abroad. As we sit back and reflect on the poems and this concept of humanity, it is so important not to lean towards apathy and disconnect from the tragedy that is before us. Action can be found within it, and in our immediate actions, we can advocate with our democratically elected officials, those representatives that essentially are supposed to work for the people, to let them know that we will not tie our humanity to the atrocities occurring, and action is needed to save lives, to take care of lives, to hold lives sacred, as many lives are supposedly supposed to be held in this Western world. Please stand in solidarity with the people of Sudan. Take action by engaging with the amazing cultural experiences available through Sudanese literature, through Sudanese music, through Sudanese art. Understand and explore the history to get a glimpse of the complexities of the situation. And once more, please contact your democratically elected representative or official and advocate for direct international humanitarian support for Sudan, not just once, but continuously. These pleas may fall on deaf ears once, but our voices as a collective should have greater weight. We will look to provide links and resources in the description of the YouTube version of this video. And once again, thank you all for joining us. As always, Gedamna Sabah, freedom, peace, and justice. Thank you.
ليلوم الخوف والكوابيس والخيانة، ليلوم الخوف والكوابيس والخيانة، نحنا قدامنا الصباح، نحنا قدامنا الصباح، نحنا قدامنا الصباح، نحنا قدامنا الصباح.